Hello everyone, I'm Paul Cowan. I'm a VFX compositor, and this is for all the people who love compositing and want to learn more. So thanks for listening in. So I wanted to talk today for a few minutes about one of my favourite shots in Thor Ragnarok. So this movie came out a couple of years ago. It was made by Marvel Studios and distributed by Disney, of course. So I worked on Thor Ragnarok while at Rising Sun Pictures. I didn't actually work on this sequence. I have to point that out. It was the same with The Mandalorian. When I talked about that last week or the week before, I didn't actually work on The Mandalorian. I thought I pointed that out, but had a few comments that made it obvious that some people didn't, that I probably wasn't clear enough. So I didn't actually work on The Mandalorian. Kudos to everyone who did. I just liked watching it. I did work on Thor, but not on this sequence. Let me just see if I can run the sequence just to put the shot in context, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the shot, which is probably one of my favourite ones in the movie. It's a good movie. I do like my Thor films, so let's have a look at this. So we've just met Tessa Thompson, who is a Valkyrie. And we're just about to get introduced to the city on this planet of garbage, right? Where Thor ends up.
Scrapper 142, I need clearance and my audience, of course. Not something special.
Where's the taking? Answer me! Hey! I'm full of gunboats and I need to get back to Asgard!
Many apologies, Your Majesty.
Okay, so pretty cool. So let me just take this back. So as introductions go, sound out, sorry, as introductions go, it's a pretty standard from a D-piece point of view. So you start off with a wide shot. It's the first time we've seen the city. Then you go to the medium shot in terms of the building that we're flying into. Then the close-up. Then the extreme close-up when we're actually in the building. And that leads to the next scene where we meet Jeff Goldblum's character and off they go. So the shot that I love is this one. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's quite unusual. It's an unusual framing. It's a really high shot. It's a really wide angle. And it's not from horizon line. Normally the horizon is what defines it, and you would probably see, if I can jump back to this, you'd probably see a lot of people want to open with this shot, right? Which is a beautiful shot. It's really got that nice side lighting. You've got the Colosseum here. You know, it's pretty obvious where we're going. We're going to this big building. It's the biggest building around. There's a story reason for that. We're just about to find out why. But part of the reason why this one stands out for me is it is quite unusual in terms of how it's put together, and it's just kind of chaos. You know what I mean? When I see this, my eye doesn't really know what to look at. Like, it kind of jumps out to the main building here. Obviously, we see the Colosseum, but there's just so much chaos going on. It's really quite sweet. It's great at selling scale. Okay, we talked about scale, or I talked about scale a couple of weeks ago. It feels really big. There's nothing that's moving too fast. There's no detail that you can see that's really small, right? The planes and these aerial vehicles, whatever, that are flying around really do move quite slowly. Even though you know that they're moving fast, the on-screen movement is small in terms of how wide. This will take a little while to get moving, so just bear with me for that. But obviously the planes that are flying aren't moving too fast in terms of screen space. And you've got everything really hazed. Everything's really hazed out. You've got a complete chaos of colour. There's nothing that really stands out like, yeah, this one's red, but that doesn't feel any more red than this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. The design of the buildings is really interesting. There's a lot of variety in here in terms of their shapes, and how they're formed. So you've got some that are cylindrical, you've got some that are square, some that are all sorts of angles. You've kind of got these kinds of buildings. So there are buildings that are distinct, but when you see it in the way that they frame it and the way that they've run it, it feels like a total mess, and that's good, right? This is a garbage planet. Everything is on top of itself. Everything is dirty. Everything is filthy. Everything is used. You've got this 5 ways. Major, some sort of highway, presumably. It's never really a story point, but there is structure to the shot. But when you see it, you just think, wow, this is really big. So it's really effective at selling that scale. I like the fact that it's hazed out. Obviously, I'm a fan of the haze. It's the same in terms of colour. There's nothing really distinctive in terms of contrast or colour about it. You've got your main buildings, but it's really fantastic at just making everything feel big and messy. So when I see this sequence, I just love it, and it's really, this shot really sells it. If I go back to these guys, if you're not too bored at looking at this. Alright, so this is the first time we see the horizon. So the first time that we're aware that we're flying towards a city. Obviously surrounded by massive piles of garbage. Thor does his comedy shtick with Tessa Thompson. And then we go into our shots. So wide, medium, close up. And then again, that leads us into the story point, where in the next scene there we see Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, so anyway, this sort of stuff I find it quite interesting to talk about, because it's just, I talked, I think last time when we were talking about cars, about detail and what do we notice and what don't we notice, and what is the eye capable of perceiving. And the reason that this is effective for me is because it's really quite, there's just so much going on that when you look at it, you're not sure what's going on. And that sells the story point. It sells the emotion that the audience, that the directors and the art directors are trying to bring across, which is that this place is used, this place is large, it's messy, it's a place that gets stuff done, and Thor is very much a fish out of water when he comes in here. And like, when I talk in terms of scale, you can't see anything that's moving quickly. You can't see short puffs of smoke coming out of things. They haven't got any birds flying or anything like that. And so when I look at it, and the slowness of the camera movement and the wide angle of the lens, it really gives me time just to drink in and look at the shot, and just to think, wow, where is this place? What's Thor got himself into? Which is what we're trying to do as compositors and as artists in general, is to help bring across a vision, and to help the audience feel a particular way, right? And that's what I'm really into. Anyway, so thanks for listening to the live stream. I'm going to try to be a bit more prolific, and depending on what it is that I watch, and I'm also working on some stuff which is more nuke-centric, for people who are looking to learn more about that. Anyway, so my favourite shot from Thor Ragnarok. My name is Paul Kerwin. Thanks for listening.